Welcome to Crime City.
Police have released the first photos of 4 murderers who shot and stabbed gang rivals to death. Saidi Abu Sheikh, 23, and Zakaria Jelani Mohammed, 31, were shot and stabbed to death during a midnight raid at a home in Henley Road, Ilford. A third man, Khalid, was shot through the head but survived along with 2 more men who ran or hid. Chibuike Ohanwe, 21, of Heath Park Road, Romford, Ayanle Aden, 20, from East Street, Barking, Mahad Gould, 22, from Charles Street, Enfield, and Zain Mirza, 21, of 3rd Avenue Manor Park, had denied double murder, 2 charges of attempted murder, and perverting the course of justice. A jury deliberated for more than 40 hours to find the 4 men guilty of all the charges. A 5th defendant, Zakari Mohammed, 19, of Kensal Rees, Kensington, had admitted perverting the course of justice by destroying the car. He was cleared of the murder and attempted murder charges. The attack is said to have been procured by Mirza in revenge for the killing of his brother in 2019. He was in prison for a drugs offense, but set about putting a plan into action after being released while being careful to remain at arm's length, jurors were told. Prosecutor John Price KC had said he was the one who most wanted it done. His motive was revenge. Sheik, known as Giddy, was said to have been a key member of an Ilford gang called Drillford. The defendants were linked to the rival Only Manor, OM gang in Newham, the court was told. The 2 East London gangs had been engaged in serious violence for around 5 years before the killings. In November 2019, Mirza's 19-year-old brother, Mohammed Usman Mirza, was murdered, and one of those convicted over the killing was closely associated with Sheikh, jurors were told. Judge Mark Lucraft KC remanded them into custody to be sentenced next Tuesday. Previously, Mr. Price had described a scene of bloody carnage which greeted police and paramedics called to Henley Road, Ilford. He said, "In an upstairs room were 2 young men, both dead or dying. They had each been shot and stabbed many times. A third young man, gravely wounded, had been left for dead. Though he sustained a gunshot wound which had passed through his head, he was to survive." It was later discovered that a 4th man had run from the back of the house when a group of attackers armed with guns had forced their way in. He is lucky to have escaped with his life. The survivor, Ali Sheikh, later told police that a group of men had forced the door and fired twice, with 1 bullet grazing his shoulder. Another man, Zachary Abdi, was upstairs and hid in the space between a bed and the wall to evade the attackers. Saidi Abu Sheikh had been stabbed 28 times and shot 4 times, while Zakaria Jelani Mohammed was stabbed 5 times and shot at least 7 times. Survivor Khalid was shot 6 times. 1 bullet entered the side of his face, passed through his head, and exited beside his mouth, causing damage to parts of the skull, his brain, and his teeth. The court was told Gould and Ohanwe had a string of previous convictions, which included drugs offenses and carrying weapons. Aden had convictions for drugs offenses, criminal damage, having money from the proceeds of crime, and possessing a lock knife. He had been released from prison on September 9th, just more than a month before the murders. Jurors were told how the attackers' movements were tracked via CCTV, and they were linked to the killings through DNA. At the hearing, the full extent of the twisted, sadistic plot was revealed. Zain Mirza, 21, ordered the murders in revenge after his brother had been stabbed to death 3 years earlier. He recruited Chibuke Ohanwe, 21, Ayani Ali Adan, 20, and Mahad Gould, 22, to carry out the shooting. They all denied, but were convicted of 2 counts of murder, 2 of attempted murder, and perverting the course of justice. They were each jailed for life with a minimum term of 38 years. Zakari Mohammed, 19, was sentenced to 4 years in a young offenders institution for perverting the course of justice. The Recorder of London, Judge Mark Lucraft, KC, said it was an orchestrated and planned attack. He said, "From the evidence, I'm entirely satisfied the events were the accumulation of a carefully planned reprisal attack for the killing of Mohammed Usman Mirza." Mirza's brother, Mohammed Usman Mirza, 19, was ambushed and violently stabbed to death in a carefully planned attack in November 2019, itself in revenge for a different stabbing. The judge went on, "Not satisfied with the police investigation, convictions and sentence of those responsible, you Mirza embarked on planning a revenge attack on members of a rival gang. Other members of the gang your brother had been a member of joined in to make sure it was effective. This is very sadly yet another example of gang rivalry and violence played out on the streets of London." In a victim impact statement, Mr. Mohammed's family said the murder had cast a long, dark shadow, and they were struggling to make sense of the incomprehensible. Mr. Sheikh's family said, "The pain and hurt that runs through our bodies is immeasurable. He was our family's protector and backbone." They described him as a considerate friend, caring brother, and an uncle to nieces and nephews. In a letter to the court, Imran Mirza, father of Mohammed, and Zain Mirza, told the families he had empathy for their loss of a child as he felt he was losing his second son today. He said, "No parents should have to bury their child. I speak from experience when I say it is the hardest thing for anyone to do. I have some understanding of what they must be going through, having been through it myself, and I hope and pray they find a way to move forward."